The Division 2 is almost here, and those of you who played the beta will probably already know that several things feel similar to the Division 1. That said, there are a few really interesting new features that we discovered from the beta which are primed to spice things up this time around. It may be the post-apocalypse, but that doesn't mean there aren't plenty of survivors and ways to help them. In the Division 2, this is emphasized through settlements. Settlements include plenty of NPCs who need your help, opportunities for side quests, and projects to undertake, which will grant you with blueprints and other goodies if you can rustle up certain supplies and bring them back. Settlements also offer up new traders and recruitable NPCs for the White House base, which provides access to new items and perks. The inclusion of projects also makes chasing collectibles feel more rewarding. Not to mention the warm fuzzies from everyone telling you you're awesome when you bolster your settlements and White House headquarters.
Hey, Agent, you're the best.
There's enough of an endgame revamp in the Division 2 that you really need to check out our in-depth preview. In essence though, the game has been developed with endgame in mind from the very beginning. The hallmarks of the experience are the new high-ranking specializations that come with power weapons, and invaded missions, which feature the same mission areas as earlier in the game, but they're now occupied by a brutally tough new faction called the Black Tusk. This comes hand in hand with the new occupied Dark Zone, an area under Black Tusk occupation that ignores level balancing and friendly fire handicaps, but has great rewards for those who can handle it. Characters are also far more personalized and customizable this time around, with multiple types for each gadget, plenty of mods, and an overall deeper skill set. Much like the endgame, there's a lot of new bits and pieces to check out in the Dark Zone. But one of the most welcome changes is that you don't feel like you've wasted time if you're killed off at loot extraction. As Division 1 players can attest, nothing is worse than sinking an hour into the Dark Zone only to lose your loot at the last second. Now you can pick up uncontaminated loot, which you'll be able to keep and use without having to extract it first. Contaminated loot can still be found and extracted, but it will be reserved for rarer gear. On top of that, there are new rewards for those who are keen to go rogue, as you'll open up access to unique vendors throughout the Dark Zone. While I personally enjoyed the concrete jungle of New York City, there's a lot to be said for the shift over to Washington. There are more varied environments than before, not to mention both greenery and critters like deer and raccoons running amok. The beta didn't provide access to the entire map, but what we've seen so far is promising. Patrolling friendlies add a new element to open world exploration, maintaining ownership of control points scattered around the capital opens up access to supply rooms full of loot, and having the White House as your base of operations to defend and rebuild is just super cool. There's also a greater focus on visiting landmarks, and even a mission to steal the Declaration of Independence, so you're basically Nick Cage. One of the more frustrating aspects of the Division was the damn near bulletproof enemies who you had to chip away at to take down. The Division 2 addresses the bullet sponge complaints in a pretty interesting way. Weaker enemies are fairly squishy and easy to take down, while tougher foes have armor you'll need to target before you go in for the kill. This means you'll want to be more strategic about where you hit tough enemies, but once that armor is gone, they go down faster. Will you still be emptying entire clips onto elite enemies? Sure. But at least you can see the fruits of your labor this time around. Let me know which of the Division 2's new features you're most excited about down in that comment box, and stay tuned to GameSpot for the rest of our coverage.